unfair means is used along with alpha. So we continue with our big discourse, Sammaditthi. So let's quickly recall what we have read till now. Sammaditthi Suttam. We saw the various definitions of Sammaditthi. First was wholesome and unwholesome, Kushalahiti or Kushalahiti. So the meaning was that one who understands what is wholesome, or who understands what is not wholesome, and understands the root of living, then he is said to have Sammaditthi. Next was one who understands what is the nutriment, what is the abandonment of nutriment, and what is the means of abandoning the nutriment, then he is Sammaditthi. And four noble truths, which is the standard formulation. Then was aging and death. One who understands the aging and death, understand the origin of it, understand the cessation of it. Then we had birth. Now, and from there onwards was this simultaneously, but it's a samutpad was also all being taken upon. So birth is basis for the aging and death. And for birth, the aging is bhava, the becoming, and we should understand the becoming, understand the arising of becoming, cessation of becoming. Then we had said the clinging, because clinging is the upadana samudaya, bhava samudaya, so clinging we understand, and from clinging was craving. So these are the parts you don't know, the origin of clinging, origin of craving. We had done up to craving, I think, last time. Tanha, we had done various kinds of tanha. Chai me mo auso tanha kaya, 6 kinds of tanha associated with the 6 senses, and then I had mentioned about the other subdivisions which are multiplied, and then you get into large number of tanha.
So इसमें जो nutriment वाला section कई बार थोड़ा सा confusing. What exactly is nutriment?
Nutriment meaning that which supports us, supports the life.
Okay.
Again and again.
Okay.
So there were 4 kinds of nutriments. No? Okay. One was the physical nutriment. Let's see.
Physical food, mental volition, contact, and consciousness.
Yes, that's right. Where it is, no, let me read out. Kavlikaro, Katmai Chattaro, 4 kinds of nutrients. Kavlikaro Aharo means physical food. Polariko Vasukmo, there also can be gross or subtle. Hassodutya means contact. Mano Sanchetana Tatya means the mental volitions, and Vijnanam Chaturtham. Vijnana means consciousness. So these are the 4 things which is the nutriment for supporting of the human beings. Supporting of the body, supporting of the mind mentality and the physicality. They are supported by these 4 things. So if you know them thoroughly, understand them properly, how do they originate, then we can be said to have understood the nutriments. One is to understand nutriment, the origin of nutriment and the cessation of nutriment. So you understand how does the physical materiality arise, how do the consciousness arise, how does the contact arise, how does the manosanchetana, how does the volition arise. So they are the basis of continued existence again and again.
So जो हम ये पढ़ रहे हैं from being to clinging and craving, again we are saying that he
Same
understands
thing. Yeah.
Craving, he understands origin,
Yeah.
path leading to the cessation and cessation. So, but the question was why for each of these things, from being clinging, we are trying to break it into these 4 things and tried.
No, it's not breaking. Sometimes saying 3, sometimes 6, depending on whatever reality is.
Okay.
Whatever perspective he looks at it. The issue, as I had mentioned once earlier also, how many types of cravings are there, or how many types of feelings are there. it is a matter of perspective with which you look at it. You look at tanha from the perspective of the quality, you can say kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Then you will say there are 3 kinds. But if you look at it from their source, they originate from eye contact, they originate from ear contact, so there are 6 types. So it's a matter of, at that moment, whatever perspective the teacher wants to present.
But the path leading to the cessation will be always
same thing. Path leading to cessation is
And
eightfold noble path.
Eightfold
every
Noble
time,
Path.
everywhere. So it's just reiterating that it will help in cessation of nutriment, cessation of feeling, cessation of craving, cessation of clinging. Everything will be taken care of by following it.
And so we are starting with wholesome and unwholesome, then nutriments. So it is a specific order which.
No, that's the way which Sariputta thought it fit at that time.
Okay.
At that particular moment, what thought arises to the speaker, it's a matter of.
Or is it that
It's not a, there's no rigid regulation. Other than the fact of cause effect relationship. वो cause effect को तो बदल नहीं सकते ना. जो cause है वो और कुछ उसका effect है वो तो उसी order में आएगा. तो वेदना पच्चय तन्हा ही होगा. तन्हा पच्चय वेदना नहीं हो सकता. So therefore that is going.
For dependent origination,
so उसी order में रहेगा.
But what I was thinking was that this wholesome and unwholesome probably is the first thing. Like you need to be first wholesome, then you can follow.
Because that is the thing which immediately one can see. No? Action के sense में तो immediately देख सकते हैं ना कि ये wholesome action है या unwholesome action. So which is a gross thing which can be easily seen. So that's probably the reason that he thought it fit to start with it. And the bhikkhus went on asking, so he went on getting into alternative explanations. That's the way it seems. The wholesome and unwholesome nutriment, these are the things which we can see easily. Then they become more subtle.
Probably are more basic.
They are gross.
More grosser than.
Then we get into subtle things, noble truths and aging and death. So we have this 97th in Pali. Vedana. Feeling we have to read. 97 in the Pali one. Called section 97. So it starts in the same manner which we can read. Sadhu avasoti kope apucham siya. So they again asked him, is there any other way of understanding? Then what does he say? Siya avuso, there might be friends. Yatoko avuso arya savako vedanancha pajanati vedana samudayancha pajanati vedana nirodhancha pajanati vedana nirodhagaminim patipada pajanati etatvat apiko avuso arya savako sammaditthi hoti ujugatasya ditti dhamme avecha pasadena samannagato agato imam saddhamma. So he says, yes, when a friends, when a Arya Savako, when a noble disciple, Vedanancha Pajana. Vedana, he knows what is the, understands what is the feeling. Vedanan Samudayancha Pajanati, he understands the origination of feeling. Vedana Nirodhancha Pajanati, the cessation of feeling. Vedana Nirodhagamini Patipada Pajana. That is, he knows the path which leads to cessation. Then, when he said to her, got it right. Then you can read further.
Katma panavuso vedana, katmo vedana samudayo, katmo vedana nirodho, katma vedana nirodhagamini patipada.
So he's questioning, what is it? Asking, what is friends? What is the Vedana? What is Vedana Samudayo, the origination? Vedana Nirodho, the cessation. Vedana Nirodhagamini Patipada, the path leading to cessation.
Chaime avuso in 6.
No, he's talking 6 Vedas. Because he's previously talked of 6 Tanha, so he's relating them to that.
Vedana kaya. 6 types of Vedana. Chakku sampassaja Vedana.
What does it mean? Chakku sampassaja. Aja means born, sampassaja means contact, chakku means eye. So the sensation, the feeling, it's feeling, not physical sensations. Physical feeling, physical sensation is subsequent consequence of it. So it is feeling born out. eye.
Seen.
When you see something, ये अच्छा लग रहा है, ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, ये बुरा है. So that is the first kind of the feeling.
Sota sampassaja vedana.
Sot means
Sunna.
hearing.
Ghana
Ghana
sampassaja.
sampassaja. Ghana means smell.
Jivva sampassaja vedana.
Jiva means tongue.
Kaya sampassaja vedana.
Body.
Mano sampassaja vedana.
Thoughts.
Passa samudayo vedana samudayo. Passa nirodha vedana nirodha.
This is the element from Paticca
Contact.
Contact gives rise to feeling.
Ayameva aryo attangiko maggo vedana nirodha gamini patipada
Seyatha idam.
This is
just to say.
Sammaditthi Vruti Samma Samadhi.
So it's the same thing. Eightfold path is just listing that path.
Yato ko avaso arya savako evam vedanam prajanati evam vedana samadayam prajanati evam vedana nirodham prajanati evam vedana nirodhagamin patipadam prajanati so sabbaso raga nusayan Raga Anusayan Pahaya Te.
Raga Anusayan Pahaya means giving up the latent Anushaya Kalesh, Anushaya Raga, the latent tendency of Raga. Then similarly of aversion, similarly of delusion. Dukkasya antakaro hoti. Finish. Ant kar dete hain dukkha. So what does he say? So this is the sort of summary of this section, that when a noble disciple has understood feeling, origin of feeling, cessation of feeling, and the way leading cessation of feeling, here and now he can make an end of suffering. In that way also a noble disciple has right view. So this is also a perspective of right view. Sammaditthi can be seen to be in this direction. In this manner also you can see Sammaditthi. So here again you can see the feelings have again been mentioned, only 6 kinds. So these are the, as I had mentioned, the roots of Abhidhamma origination. But we also know Buddha talks of feelings in Satipatthana, Sukham Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, Asukha Vedana. So that also is there. So each of these feelings can be of 3 kinds. When you see an eye object, it may be Sukha, it may be pleasant, it may be unpleasant, it may be neutral. So then you can get so many multiplications you can get in them in various kinds. So that's how these whole kind of matrix of feelings arose. Next.
Yato ko abuso arya savako fasancha pajanati fasa samudayancha pajanati fasa nirodhancha pajanati fasa nirodhagamin patipadancha pajanati etavatapi ho abuso arya savako sammaditthi hoti उज्जुगता स दिट्टि धम्मे अवेचा प्रसादेना समन्नागतो आगतो इमन सधामन.
So, and then he says, they ask the question. He says, yes, there is another, there might be. And what does he say? When Arya Savako, when a noble disciple, Phasancha Pajanati, understands Phassa, contact. How does the contact arise? Phassa Samudayancha Pajanati, understand the origination. Phassa Nirodha, understand the cessation. Phassa Nirodha Gamini Patipada, understand the path leading to cessation. In that way also, Sammaditthi, Arya Savako Sammaditthi. A noble disciple has right view. And then there are further synonyms of right view. Straight view when it gets established in Dhamma. Katmopanna also Phassu. And what is Phassa? Katmopassa Samudaya. So he questions and then we can give the answer.
Chai में abuso phasakaya.
So there are 6. Chai means Hindi
में abuso phasakaya.
6 kinds of contact.
Chakhu samphaso,
Chaksu means eye, contact of the eye.
Sota samphaso, contact of the ear. Ghana samphaso, nose or smell. Jiva samphaso, tongue. Kaya samphaso,
Body.
touch, skin. Mano samphaso, man, mind.
Thinking. So these are the 6 kinds of contact. You can see itself they have their background in the 6 feelings, 6 tanhas, so they are relating to that. Then he gives the element of the matrix.
Salayatan samudaya, Phassa mudayo, Salayatana nirodha, Phassa nirodho.
So this is the element of paticca samutpada. What is the origination? Because you have to understand the origination. So origination of samudaya of phassa is salayatan. So it is the 6th sense space which is the origination of contact. So,
Ayameva
Hariyo Thangiko Maggo. Phassa nirodha gamini patipada. So the path leading to the cessation of contact is same way, very same, 6-fold, 8-fold noble path.
सर हमारे पुराने इंडियन ट्रेडिशंस में हमेशा 5 एलिमेंट्स की बात होती है, यहाँ हमेशा 6 की बात होती है.
Elements नहीं, they are sense spaces.
Right, 5 senses की बात होती है हमारे यहाँ.
Because mind is seen as another thing. Mind is seen, is not seen as a sense.
But sir, हमारा tradition भी काफी rich था. When people would know that mind is one of the senses.
They didn't call it a sense. It's a matter of nomenclature.
Okay.
ऐसा नहीं है कि they didn't understand. In fact, they had another kind of interpretation. Mind separate, then intellect separate. So they distinguished between man and buddhi. So they had a different way of classification of that in the traditional Indian.
सर वो मनोबुद्धि में क्या डिफरेंस होता है, ये कई बार हम उस पे टच कर चुके हैं. तुम कहते हैं ना उनकी पार्ट्स कौन से होते हैं?
शरीर मन बुद्धि आत्मा वाला डिवीजन कर रहे हैं.
अच्छा.
That is a different. One is the thing in the thinking parcel. Then there is it is seen to have various abilities: thinking ability, feeling ability, and the analyzing ability. So you can say thinker, feeler, analyzer. This way, different people have done a different kind of analysis of the various mental functions. It is Buddha who analyzed them into various such a huge, enormously large kind of subdivisions. Broke it down into elements, so to say, or virtually into the elements. So there basically was in the Vedic tradition, this kind of connotation has been there. So there is a Atma, which is the source from where these man, buddhi, ahankar arise.
मन बुद्धि है.
Ahankar, the feeling of I.
So the other word also, there is word like chitta. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra is chitta nirodha.
There chitta is meaning chitta vritti nirodha.
Chitta vritti nirodha.
When you talk of chitta, it is chitta vritti nirodha. So when Buddha talks of chitta nirodha, so it's fine distinction. In the Vedic tradition, the feeling is the mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, aham. That is the Adi Shankaracharya very famous poem, very
There
moving.
is no, other than the last line, Buddha's Buddha and it's almost same. I saw that the last line when he says Shivoham, that is different from.
Yeah, but Shivo actually means good welfare. If you interpret it
like that. But otherwise, all 3 lines are.
But there the implication is mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, and aham. So that is I am neither the man nor the buddhi, not chitta, not ahankara. So this is the kind of distinction which Adi Shankara makes.
So he says that I am not
This.
I am not this, I am not this, I am not Jati, I am not Veda, I am not knowledge, I am not this.
Very beautiful.
Anantalakkhan Sutta type हो गया. I am not all these 5 khandras.
But I am. But then the conclusion is Shivoham. I am the manifestation of the pure consciousness. If you want to interpret it like that, you can say I am the manifestation of the pure consciousness. If you interpret non-duality, that is the way they interpret. And if you see Thai version, it is almost like that. I mean, this is the Vedantic perspective, Advaita Vedantic perspective. They also don't deny pure consciousness because of the one or two discourses where Buddha talks of Aniddassana Vijnana. So they try to bring it almost on the same level. Other than denial of the existence of a God as a creator, that of course is not accepted in any Buddhist tradition. So then this is the contact. You remember we had studied about contact, because normally we tend to think contact in terms of a physical contact. It's not just that, it is the association. Contact here means association of, we had read it in Chachaka Sutta, Tinnam Sangati Phassa, three things.
Yeah.
I, object, I
Right.
consciousness, all these three things coordinated, Phassa. So Phassa is also actually in Abhidhamma, it is a mental factor. It is not a it is not as if these two are contacting, so that is called contact. No. It is a mental factor which arises, which coordinates the contact, which brings about the interaction. So this is quite counterintuitive.
This is
It's quite
difficult to understand.
counterintuitive.
That first is a mental factor.
Yeah, it is one of the mental factors, 7 which are universals, which are always present. So whenever the consciousness arises, 7 Chetasikas arises. Chitta arises, 7 are always there. Then there are other mental factors which arise depending on the shade of the nature of the consciousness. So these 7 mental factors, first is one of them, which is they are always present. These mental factors. So we must see it in that sense as a mental factor which arises because of when the 3 things are present. When these 3 things are present. I is present, object is present, the consciousness arises, because for consciousness to arise there are conditions. I is there, object is there, no light, you can't see. So those conditions are there. So first is there, then only you can see. So they are all arising, Sahajata Pachayo, there is that they arise together. There, Sahajata means born together. So there 7 factors are born along with the consciousness. So that's how Abhidhamma
तो
explains.
जलेबी खा रहे हो जब तो चाहे फिजिकल कांटेक्ट यहाँ हो रहा हो बट उस टेस्ट का जो वो है वो यही है मेंटल फैक्टर
But isn't that the feeling arising after of the food, taste of the food? But I think this is the first one.
द सेंस ऑफ टेस्ट इज आल्सो इन माइंड सी जबान पे जब आपके लगता है इवेंचुअली क्या हो रहा है वो जबान आपको कुछ टेस्ट थोड़ा ना करवा सकती है वो तो खाली एक सेंसेशन भेज सकती है आपके माइंड में ब्रेन में जो आपको कह रहा है कि टेस्ट है मीठा है अगर वो डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाए तो ये कितना भी टेस्ट करवाते हो क्या होगा
Person in anesthesia, कितनी जलेबी खिला कुछ नहीं पता चलने वाला उसको. Let's go to the next.
साधा सोती को
We can read from the Vatoko.
यतो को आवसो अर्य सावको कस्संच बजानाति कस्य समुदयंच बजानाति कस्य निरोधंच बजानाति कस्य निरोधगामिनीं पटिपदंच बजानाति कीर्ता
So you read. Pass is done.
First is 99 कर रहे हैं. सलायतन कर.
सरायतन यतो को आवसो अर्य
Sir, related a question है. Is it been implied to choose right contact for noble path or to avoid contact? Is it so? After reading this section on the contact, is it being implied to choose right contact for noble path, or alternatively to avoid contact?
No, not either of them. It is to understand. The issue is to understand how contact happens. And the contact is happening. What is the origination of contact? The origination is 6 sense bases. So if 6 sense bases are there, there will always be contact. You can't do anything about it. As long as eye is there and the conditions or objects are there, there will always be contact. And light is there. Unless you completely kind of isolate ourselves, keep ourselves in a black box. But even in a black box, the body will be there. Body will be there, and skin
Smell
will be
will be there.
Skin, no, even if you say the smell is also excluded, body will always be there. There will always be contact of the atoms within the body with the skin. So that contact cannot be denied, but it has to be understood that six sense bases are the cause, and then you have to understand what is the way of cessation of six sense bases. Cessation of six sense bases eventually is we should be able to see the cessation of the whole process of being and becoming. So eventually it comes down to the same thing, that you have to follow the Eightfold Noble Path so that you can actually cross over the cycle of birth and death.
Another question is that if FASA is purely a mental factor, how the anesthesia, a physical entity, is able to cause no feeling?
No, it breaks the contact, no? It breaks the operation of that
It stops the
yeah,
it stops the consciousness.
consciousness from, because the fassa is a mental factor, and under the anesthesia that is not arising, because there are conditions for arising of this. No?
Okay.
Even if the object is there and the for example eye is there and the object is there, if the light is not there, volition is not there, then you will not see, and then you will not see the object. Even if the light is there, your volition is not there, तुम गाना सुन रहे हो, you will not see the object. Or it happens of course certainly in the case of sound. You are reading, आवाज आ रही है, कोई बुलाए जा रहे हैं, हम पढ़े जा रहे हैं, हमें सुनाई नहीं. Why? Because the volition is not there to listen to it. Volition is to see. So we can see that that's the, in fact, the one of the methods
But
used
sir,
to
in
indicate.
case of anesthesia, so we are saying that there are three factors: internal, external, and the consciousness required to make a contact. So in case of anesthesia, which is cut?
The brain functioning is cut.
Brain
The organ, the instrument which is used to operate is cut. The instrument through which the consciousness is operating, that instrument is getting affected by this particular chemical. Just as by taking alcohol also something happens with the consciousness.
Yes.
It gets into a delirium because it has created the mind-body contact is so strong that if anything happens to the body, it will also reflect on the mind. Just as what happens in the mind reflects on the body. So if the body is very strongly violated, obviously the mind will not be able to function through that body under that condition. Just as somebody was to chop off my neck, matter will end. Consciousness will not be able to operate through the body.
So what we are saying is that anesthesia is affecting the physical body, which then is affecting the mind.
Which is the object needed for manifestation of that personalized consciousness, which is manifesting through the human body, through that particular point. So the Vijnana, my Vijnana, so to say, my Vijnana, that is my consciousness, which is operating through this instrument, that has to be in good shape, that has to have connection. So if that body is getting into a shape that it cannot operate, then the manifestations of all the, not only Vijnana, but all other 7 universal factors, none of them will be off. If consciousness does not operate, nothing will operate.
People took this to an extreme in the 60s when they thought that chemically they can produce these states of consciousness,
Yes.
which you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
That
but
makes sense.
there-
But
yeah.
that is the extreme of this anesthesia.
Yeah.
You are stopping here, there you are inducing.
So at least one of those people who initiated it became a monk, became a very great teacher in America. Ramdas is known as Ramdas.
Oh, he started that.
He was a professor in Harvard, professor of psychology. He and another professor, they started working on the altered state of consciousness. They said we used to. So they used to teach about it. They said, why not experiment? So they hit upon certain mushrooms which they ate. So then there is a lab which they made, in which the experiments were done. And those experiments proved them to be that they could get those altered states of consciousness which they had read in psychology as they had read in Indian psychology, but then they realized the consequences of it. So they created a whole culture of LSD started from there, and then Howard fired them both with these professors. And this one Richard Alpert, he said, okay, I think there's something wrong, but these Indian people say there is something which is sustaining and does not create the after effects. And then the after effects of taking those drugs are very, very, very bad. So then he came to India, and then he met at Neem Karoli Baba. He came in influence with him, and then he gave him the name Ramdas, and then he started this whole movement of Oriental philosophy. He's the person. He wrote that first book, Be Here and Now, which is basically on being present in the now. He's still alive, and he has had a stroke recently. It's not a few years back. There's a film available on YouTube, Fierce Grace. You look at it, it's
Fierce.
a marvelous film
Okay.
of his life. It explains how he evolved from it, and shows their laboratory in Harvard where they did those experiments, and students used to come in large number, and then they were fired from there. And his partner with whom he does, and he blames his partner for that. It's a very
It was
interesting
a
film.
huge movement. People wrote songs about it. There are songs which will say Alice ate something and became big and became small and all this. You'll find psychedelic rock is a phenomenon which has all started from.
His home, and there's that film you must see, Fierce Grace. Beautiful film. I saw the whole of it. His family, how his family responded to it. His father was a big shot. So, kahan phas gaya? And when he went from here, he went as American. When he came back from India with the big daddies, he went, what is this Baba Baba people are calling you? So there's an interview with his father also. Firstly, he was quite annoyed, later amused. Then in their big house, they used to have these satsangs, and he would say Hare Krishna and Hare. So that whole thing is shown there very well. This altered states of consciousness phenomenon.
So the comment here is that his recent book is Be Love Now.
Yes. Before he wrote, the first was Be Here and Now. Then after the stroke, he wrote Still Here. And then he's written that is Still Here is also interesting. I saw. I mean, he was a very transparent person. So how he says, how I realize that whole of my life I have been saying Be Here and Now I have a stroke and I'm having such a great difficulty in handling it. But then slowly he recovered. You can see him driving around even in spite of paralysis and all that.
सर ये जो अभी हम कॉन्शियसनेस माइंड ऑपरेटिंग थ्रू द बॉडी पे हम वी यूज दिस एग्जांपल ऑफ द सॉफ्टवेयर एंड हार्डवेयर दैट द सॉफ्टवेयर ऑपरेट्स थ्रू द हार्डवेयर either if the software is wrong obviously the results will be wrong but if there's fault in the hardware there could be
Let's say इतना लिमिट तक तो ठीक है. Analogy is good. उसको ज़्यादा आगे खींचेंगे तो मुश्किल है because then software is being programmed by somebody else.
हाँ सर वो सोर्स ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर अगर हम नहीं देखें
उसमें दिक्कत हो जाएगी. Here it is a software which you have the ability to program.
यतो को आरुषो अर्यसावको सरायतनं च पजानाति सरायतन समुदयं च पजानाति सरायतन निरोधं च पजानाति सरायतन निरोधगामिनीं पटिपदं च पजानाति एतावता पिको आहुसो अर्यसावको सम्मादिष्ठि होति उजुगतास्स दिष्ठि धम्मे अवेच्च प्रसादेन समन्नागतो आगतो इमं सद्धम्मम् कतमं परावसो सरायतनं कतमो सरायतन समुदयो कतमो सरायतन निरोधो कतमा सरायतन निरोधगामिनीं पटिपदा. सर पहले वाला तो यही है कि सरायतन क्या है, वो कैसे अराइज होता है, कैसे उसका निरोध होता है, और व्हाट इज द पाथ लीडिंग टू द सेसेशन ऑफ सरायतन. सो छाईमानी आवुसो आयतनानी, 6 आयतन हैं. फ्रेंड्स
there are 6 sense bases.
चक्षायतनम आई बेस,
Chakku plus ayatanam becomes
चक्षायतनम. सोतायतनम which is ear base, धानायतनम which is nose base, जिह्वायतनम tongue base, and कायायतनम skin base or body base, मनायतनम which is mind base. नाम रूपा समुदया सरायतन समुदयो नाम रूपा निरोधा सरायतन निरोधो. This is again Pratidha. Naam Roop results in Sarayatan, and Naam Roop cessation will result in the cessation of Sarayatan. अयमेव अरियो अथुङ्गिको मग्गो सरायतननिरोधगामिनीं पटिपदा सेयत्थिदं सम्मादिट्ठी पे सम्मा समाधि.
So this is how from the sixfold sense basis. Then the explanation is given, but understanding sixfold sense basis is Nam Rupa. So Nam Rupa means mentality and materiality, which is the arising from there. So the next one, naturally, in the answer itself is encrypted the next question and the next answer. So you can read that. Yatoko 100.
100 में यतोको.
Yatoko Avusu, Arya Savako.
माहिती देता है वो.
51.
Yatoko Avusu.
यतोको आवुसो हरिया सावको नाम रूपंच प्रजनति नाम रूपा समुदयंच प्रजनति नाम रूपा निरोधंच प्रजनति नाम रूपा निरोध गामिनी परिपदंच प्रजनति एतावत्तपि को आवुसो हरिया सावको सम्मादित्ति होती उजुगतासा दित्ति धम्मे अवेचा पसेदना सम्मानगतो आगतो इमम सदधाम.
So, friends, when a noble disciple understands Namarupa, materiality, mentality, understands the origin of it, understands the cessation of it, understands path leading to cessation. And what is this Namarupa? That's interesting. You must understand that. Because we normally tend to get slightly confused in that. See what is the Katam Panauso Namarupam. So then what is the reply?
कथमं पनावुसो नाम रूपं कथमो नाम रूप प्रसमुद्यो कथमो नाम रूप निरोधो कथमा नाम रूप निरोध गामिनी प्रतिपदा वेदना संज्ञा चेतना हसो मनसिकारो इदम
Which Avusu Nama.
Which avuso
Namam. So what is Nama?
Fine.
Which means spoken. These are called Nama. What is called Nama? Vedana, Sanya, then others also. Chetana, Hasa, Manasikar. Manasikar means attention. Hasa means contact. So this is what is called Nama. And what is the Rupa? Rupa is the physicality. Physicality is Chattari che Mahabhutani.
चतारी चे महाभूतानि चतुर्णञ्च
Mahabhutanam Upadaya Rupam. So these four great Mahabhutans, four great elements are air, water, fire. Chatuncha Mahabhutam Upadaya Rupam. And the four derived qualities of those great elements. Form, color, sound, smell, taste. So these are, so this is the constitution of the Rupa, physicality. So there is physicality in Abhidhamma is broken down into further constituents. Four great elements, then the derived properties, and then others. So there is a much greater kind of subdivisions of it. Physical sense organ, eye sense organ. Then the various elements are there. So you have a Abhidhamma description of large number of subdivisions. I think 28 subdivisions of Rupa, of physicality. So you have to see it's not just the 5 aggregates only. There are other things also which are included in the Nama.
इति
Idancha Namam, Idancha Rupam. So this is what is called Nama and Rupa in this plane. Idam Uchita Usu Nama Rupa. So this is what is called as Nama Rupa. And then he gives the element of Paticca Samutpad, what is the element? Vijnana Samudayo, Nama Rupa Samudaya. Vijnana Nirodho, Nama Rupa Nirodho. So this is the element from Paticca Samutpad. That with the origination of consciousness arises mentality, material. Consciousness is the root. That is the first forerunner. You remember in the very first Dhampada was the Manopabangama Dhamma. Mano Chitta. Consciousness is the forerunner of everything. So that's what is explained here. Vijnana Samudayo, Nama Rupa Samudayo. So when the consciousness arises, everything else arises. All other kind of, so it is seen as a king, consciousness is the king. So सारे छोटे छोटे minister सब साथ साथ चल रहा है. So that's the way explanation is usually given. So Vijnana Nirodha, Nama Rupa. So this is the, and Ariyo Athandiko Maggo, Nama Rupa Nirodha Gamani Pati. So this is the another way of understanding that. What is it? Yatakho avso Arya Savako evam Nama Rupam Pajanati, evam Nama Rupa Samadayam Pajanati, evam Nama Rupa Nirodham Pajanati, evam Nama Rupa Nirodha Gaminim Patipada Pajanati. So Sabbasya Raga Anusayam Bahaya. Etattvapiko avso Arya Savako Sammaditi. This is how also a noble disciple will have right understanding. What is it? When he understands Nama Rupa, mentality, materiality, understands, comprehends in the deep sense, and understands the origin of it, understands the cessation of it, and the path leading to the cessation. So this is the next element of the Paticca Samutpad. Stop here.
So ये नाम में ये वेदना संज्ञा चेतना सर ये how is this चेतना in context?
What does Chetna mean? Volition. So it is in that sense. Now in the five aggregates we have that, there is the name is Yul Sankhara.
Right. चेतना है ये संखारा वेदना संज्ञा चेतना सबसे वंचित
Volition, Chetna means volition. Chetna क्या आपको अच्छी चेतना है कि बुरी चेतना? इसे हिंदी में use that word.
ऐसे संखारा पे इससे अगला भी है विज्ञान संखारा पर
Yeah, these are,
संखारा पर मुझे
yeah, that is the from the perspective of formations, consciousness. Consciousness arises from sankhara. So it's not a linear relationship. It's a loop inside loops. So these are the factors which arise. Chetana is here in terms of that volition, particular volition. So what is the translation? We देख लेते हैं. Translation: feeling, perception, volition, contact, and attention. Normally, contact and attention are not a part of the five aggregates,
Right.
but they are a part of the noun. So that distinction is mentioned. Okay, so we'll stop here. Prepare some tea for some.
next
Please.
इसमें
I have made arrangements. Actually, my wife had to undergo surgery for this cataract. So she's fine otherwise, but she's not supposed to go to.
कुछ टाइम
yes कहाँ से कब
In मूलचंद के पीछे एक हॉस्पिटल है छोटा सा, आई हॉस्पिटल. वहाँ वो डॉक्टर बहुत सीनियर डॉक्टर है.
तो इसमें क्वेश्चन है कि is sanya meant as memory or the one that uses memory?
Sanya is meant as perception, which memory is a part of, which facilitates perception. Sanya, memory is the part which facilitates, because on the basis of memory we evaluate. But
Yes.
Sanya means perception, how we perceive things. So normally our Sanya is what is the biggest culprit in our circuit of phase of suffering, because we perceive things wrongly. Things which are impermanent, we tend to think of them as permanent. Things which are not of pleasant, we tend to think of them as pleasant. Things which are it's like we get carried away by the sugar coating on the outside. Internally क्या है वो पता नहीं चल पाता, because perception तो बाहर से दिखता है. So that's why we try to transform the perception from the wrong perception of nicha to anicca. So anicca sangya. So we must develop that perception of impermanence. Things are impermanent, so that becomes a better perception way of looking at things rather than looking at it. This is pleasant, this is unpleasant, this is pleasing, this is not pleasing. So that's how we transform this.
ये डिस्कशन हम कई बार कर भी चुके हैं कि नॉर्मली अगर हम इस तरह की परसेप्शन को ना देखें, हम डे टू डे परसेप्शंस को अगर हम देखें, दे आर मोस्टली ड्रिवन एंड रिड्यूस्ड बाय मेमोरी. बिकॉज अगर हम मेमोरी लॉस हो जाए किसी का, so he would lose all those perceptions about those people that he has interacted with. So it is so the perception है, when the child is born, he doesn't have any perceptions. So he builds the perceptions, or he carries
something from the past, because he's not born as a clean slate, and then there is the genetic code in human beings which carries the pleasure pain principle encoded with the child. Pleasure pain principle तो बहुत strong है ना बच्चे में. That arises from feeling basically. Perception उस sense में नहीं है उतना. उस sense में perception नहीं है. But we create that perception. बच्चे माता पिता करते हैं ना. ये अच्छा है, ये लड़का होता है, तुम लड़के हो, तुम लड़की हो, तो एक perception create कर दिया. ऐसे कपड़े पहनोगे तो अच्छा है, ये नहीं पहनोगे तो ये बुरा है. ये खाना अच्छा है, ये खाना नहीं चाहिए, वो खाना चाहिए कि नहीं. So the conditioning is there. So perception is a kind of a conditioning. It's based governed by the conditioning. So this particular kind of dress is favored in one society, another kind of dress is favored in another society. So children develop that perception. We ourselves again develop that perception कि ऐसा होना चाहिए, लड़कियों को ऐसे बिहेव करना चाहिए, लड़कों को ऐसा बिहेव करना चाहिए. Now the threat or challenging our perception, so हम लोगों को परेशानी हो रही है. All men are having difficulty. ये क्या हो रहा है? कहते हैं हम जो मर्जी पहने, आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम आपकी आंखों में. That's another way of looking at things. So that's why there is so much of turmoil. You can see men reacting all kind of. So कहीं ना कहीं वो बेचारे अनजाने में कह ही जाते हैं कुछ ना कुछ.
सब बाबा लोग यही फंस गए बेचारे.
सब लोग मुसीबत में फंस गए. ना कहें तो मुश्किल, कहें तो मुश्किल.
बेचारा बिल्कुल ही कहना.
So the perception is getting upset, ना? Or perceptions are getting challenged actually. Not getting upset, they are getting challenged. जो आप देखते हो ऐसा. So this event of last December in Delhi challenged the perception very strongly. That's how the perceptions get transformed.